indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do we have public comment tonight? Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and read before we get going on our public comment. As we move into patron comments, I want to remind those who have signed up that they will have 3 minutes to speak. Those speaking will be called in the order they signed up for. Once your name is called, please come forward and state your name in the microphone. All comments are recorded, so please speak clearly into the microphone. Once the timer goes off, we ask that you return to your seat. Please refrain from using profane language, making threats, or revealing confidential student or staff information. We want to remind you that the board is here to listen during public comment, but we will not be able to respond to any comments or questions you may have. Any additional information can be sent to the board through email. Our first one, Lisa Johnson.
Good evening. Lisa Johnson from TEA. Just wanted to give you guys our monthly message. So, we appreciate the hard work and dedication of our educators in delivering high-quality education to our students. As they navigate increasing complex classrooms, we recognize the importance of their well-being and encouragement of their student success. We believe in our educators are among the most valuable assets in our educational system. We want to highlight their efforts. We kindly invite you to consider participating in the following ways. Volunteer in a classroom to gain deeper understanding of their day-to-day responsibilities. Visit a classroom to witness the impact of our educators have on our students. Engage with our educators in conversation to discuss their current challenges and potential areas of support. These interactions will not only provide an opportunity to showcase our educators' dedication, but it will help create a supportive environment that fosters their well-being and effectiveness. Thank you.
Next up, Jules Olson.
Thank you so much for your time. I just wanted to bring to the board some concerns among the community that took place at Stansbury Park Elementary School yesterday with a bat infestation. It's not the first issue first time it's been an issue. My son, who is now 15, he remembers this happening. I remember that being the case where he's seen dead bats on the playground. There's just a growing concern among the community, among teachers, among parents especially, and kids. So I just wanted to bring that to the board to see if potentially you guys could help us have an understanding of what you do in that type of situation. Do you work with the health department? What measures have been taken? And making sure that everybody feels like they have a safe space created, whether that's staff, parents, community members, children, to come and address these concerns and matters, because I think emails get sent out that there's something that took place, but then we don't hear the follow-up, but we only hear that it hasn't necessarily been eradicated yet. It's just continually being a problem. So I wanted to bring that to the board to see what can be done about those infestations and eradicating that once and for all, because it has been at least since he was in 3rd grade and now he's in 10th grade. So health concerns, how that's addressed. Also provide maybe codes that you guys follow or what you abide by, Utah state laws when those situations happen, to make sure that we can get rid of that problem. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. All righty. We are done with our patron comments. We're going to move on to academics. Looks like early math program is on the agenda for our academic piece today. And Chantel Cowan, sorry I didn't introduce you because we all know you, but maybe not everyone does. We're so grateful for all you do.
Well, thank you. I'm actually very excited to be here and to be able to talk about our new math program, Into Math, for K-6 elementary, and be able to share some information with you. And I wanted to start with kind of our implementation and what we've done, and then move into some of our initial observations that we've had. So talking about the implementation, this math adoption has been different than what we've done in the past in the fact that we've been able to incorporate implementation into the adoption process. And I do want to give a shout out to Lark because he's made this possible, that being able to support the implementation along with the adoption has been incorporated, and from here on out, all adoptions will include implementation plans. Okay. So thank you, Lark. But what's been nice is we purchased the materials at the end of last school year, and because we purchased the materials at the end of last school year, teachers were able to receive their teacher edition materials and begin to look forward towards the following school year. So as the school year ended, they were able to kind of plan as they were moving forward. We were able to host some summer trainings. They were optional, but we were able to pay teachers to attend those summer trainings. And we hosted in June, and then we repeated that same summer training in July for those that weren't able to attend in June. And they were grade level trainings where we focused on how the new curriculum materials aligned with our core practices. And so we really looked at how, if you follow the lesson plan in the Into Math program, you actually are hitting all of the components of the instructional framework. And so that's what we walked through, is for every grade level, kind of how that aligns. Then we also have a self-paced Canvas course that teachers were able to complete. This had some of those initial training videos in them that are provided by the publisher. And we were able to pay teachers to be able to do that also. Then in September, as the school year started, we were able to do some training on the supplemental software that was purchased along with the program, which was Waggle. And then what we've noticed is that we purchased some additional trainings when we purchased the original program, and those original trainings additional trainings are in the planning stages, and we want to utilize them for focusing on strategy support. So helping teachers with maybe models or grade level content that they might not be familiar with, how the book is presenting the information. And so that's kind of the initial implementation. And so some of the observations that we've noticed. The first thing is this program is rigorous. And I share with you the learning pit. Dr. Reitzel, in many of our teaching and learning meetings, talks a lot about the learning pit, that you're excited to try a new challenge, and then as you start getting into that challenge a little bit, you feel like you're not quite sure where you're going, and it's very difficult and can feel very daunting. But with a little support and time, we can get to the other side and have that change implemented. And that's kind of what we're seeing with this program and the implementation of this new program, is that right now students and teachers are in that learning pit because it is definitely a rigorous program. It is heavy in applications, and so there's a lot of word problems. And being able to instruct with those word problems and have students recognize and be able to understand and connect that math to those problems is very important. But it is definitely a change. The program does focus on strategy development and understanding the math in context. And so some of those strategies and models that are used are a little unfamiliar to some students and to some teachers. And so that's why we recognize there needs to be some additional training for those strategies that they might be unfamiliar with. And the last thing that we've noticed is, because we are currently in the learning pit, that there's just a need to continue to reinforce that these are the primary instructional materials for elementary math, and to kind of stay that course. So that's kind of overall Into Math where we're at with initial implementation. I do want to share, I don't have quantitative data, but I do have some qualitative data, or some anecdotal. We've had some teachers reach out and have shared that they were very frustrated with the program and didn't think their students were learning anything. But then what they noticed is they gave a test that they had given last year. This year, the students far outperformed what they had done last year. So they are seeing some changes. I walked into a third grade class and observed a lesson, and students were fluently multiplying and dividing, taking story problems, and fluently multiplying and dividing single digits, which is exciting because we're within the first quarter. They're multiplying and dividing in third grade. So again, it is rigorous. It is a little bit of a challenge to kind of adjust, but I think that we're starting to kind of see that other side at this point. Are there questions about the Into math before I move on to early numeracy?
She had hers first.
Elizabeth?
I just have 2 comments. So number 1, about the third graders knowing their multiplication and division. It is incredible. Like, even we were doing flashcards the other day, and my older siblings were like, how does she already all know those, with my own daughter? The second comment is I am substituting all this week in a 6th grade class, and as we were doing the lessons, the subclass just said, take 2 days for this one, 2 days for this model. Isn't it called a model? Yeah, and then review. But as I was going through it, I'm like, oh, this is so different, like the application on how to get there. But then it's been fun to watch the students, because they are story problems. And when like giving 2 option, which one is the better unit rate, they're like, well, you can just look at it and you know. But I'm like, how do you know? And then they explain it verbally, how they know that is the right answer.
Thank you.
Emily?
That's really exciting. I've heard comments from people who are excited and also people who are feeling the learning pit. And I'm wondering, is there a specific plan in place to help people get out of the learning pit, or is that still in the works? Or
Well, and that's what that additional professional development that we purchased will be utilized
Oh,
for,
okay.
is being able to help support those areas where they feel the most need.
Awesome. And I talked to you earlier about some people worrying about scope and sequence, and the people that I was talking to actually said, well, once we get to the end of the program, maybe we'll see that it all really fits together. And so I was wondering if we can learn anything from other districts that have been using the program about how it all fits together, and some tips, or is that not a good idea? Or
No, and actually I have reached out to some other districts that have implemented the program, and one of the things that they did say was modeling of the lessons within the classroom has been very helpful. Unfortunately, that's just not the professional learning that we had purchased. It has quite an expensive price tag to it. But we are learning from some of their other pitfalls that they've had, and being able to kind of support our teachers as they implement this program. And I think that as they kind of get into it, they start to recognize that their students are reasoning and thinking through the mathematics. And as we move through the different grade levels, they'll start to see more of that connection. For instance, in 5th grade, they use the area model for division. But if a student's not familiar with the area model from 2-digit multiplication in 4th grade, utilizing the area model to represent division becomes very difficult in 5th grade. And so there's some of those gaps that we do recognize that are there. And it is going to take us a year to kind of figure out what those are and be able to kind of support the students as we need to be able to support the students in that area.
thank you.
I wanted to ask about some of the feedback we get from parents, right? Parents are the ones at home trying to help their children with the math problems and so forth. Oftentimes, at least recently, the parents have said, I don't get the math. I don't understand it, you know. And so I just wonder about, I don't know how much or how little we can do for parents to learn this model, this process, but I wonder if there's either communication or some way of helping parents understand this better so that they can then be that support that we need them to be at home.
Yeah, absolutely. We've kind of left it up to the individual classroom teachers, but there's definitely something we can look at a district level. But there are videos that are family connection videos for many of the lessons that can be assigned to students, so they have access to that, so that they can view those videos of how to kind of work through the materials. The students do have an online electronic access to the curriculum, and so the parents, even if they didn't take their materials home, the parents would have access through the student's account to be able to see each of the different lessons and the instructions that utilize and go along with the lessons. And we do have on our website the kind of the scope and sequence, if you will, for the different units. But we can definitely look into additional ways to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Just even if it's a note that, hey, we've started a new curriculum for mathematics, and here's where your resources are to find that. Then if we're asked questions, we can say, hey, please look at the resources and see if that helps, and then we can go a step further if they need that. But I would think that should be part of what we do, right, is also educate the parents about it.
We can definitely do that. Other questions? All right, so jumping into early numeracy, I wanted to share a little bit about what we're doing with early numeracy. Dr. Reitzel last time had talked about what our second and third grade goal is for math. For third grade, we want to raise the composite score by 15 percentage points. And for second grade, we want to look at those students that are below benchmark and move 59% of them up to above or at benchmark. They are a little bit of a stretch goal, but we do believe that they are very achievable. And the reason is because one of the supports, in addition to the new curriculum that we have the Acadians Targeted Skill Instruction Flowchart. Last year, we implemented it for third grade, and we saw success with third grade. We've implemented it this year for second grade. And so I just kind of want to walk through what that is so you kind of are familiar with what that Acadians Math Targeted Skill Flowchart is. After the teachers give the Acadians assessment and they get their scores back, at the beginning of the year, students that are below benchmark on computation, at the beginning of the year we only look at the computation, they give them a diagnostic assessment. That diagnostic assessment is going to give very targeted, it's going to target those skills that need to be focused on. And then we provide those intervention lessons to the teachers to be able to use to target those particular skills that are needed. And so that is what the kind of the flow chart is. We do it at the beginning of the year, and then we do it again at the middle of the year. We start with computation, but then we move into our concepts and application. And we've seen success in third grade. What we saw last year was from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, we increased by 14 percentage points in third grade. The year before that, it was only 8. So we saw an increase there. And then the number of students the percentage of students that were below benchmark that moved up to at or above, prior to the flow chart being instituted in third grade was at 42%. After the flow chart implemented, we were able to raise it up to 54%. So a little over half of them were raising. And that's why we feel that our goal of raising 59% of second graders is definitely achievable. So that's kind of the Acadians flow chart.
How do we communicate this to our public, right? How do we make sure that what gets in the newspapers, what gets out there, people recognize that there are some real great bright spots? And I don't know that it's on your shoulders to do that necessarily, but I do want to make sure that we're thinking about how do we get this out to the public so they can see what's going on here in these schools.
I think that's a great idea.
We need to make sure it gets out there. I'm not sure who I'm looking at, but I'm looking at everyone, hoping that someone will
We're
catch
talking
my eye.
about PR
Okay,
tonight with
great.
superintendent.
Emily.
Yeah, I was just curious, with the interventions, does Into Math provide anything at all helpful along that front?
They do provide interventions, but they're a lot related to kind of the current lesson that's being taught.
Not the
These-
underlying Acadians calculation, okay.
Yeah, these are more of your off-grade level
Right.
interventions.
Okay.
So the other thing that we have to help support our early numeracy is we have math interventionists, which I'm really excited about this. We have paras in each school. The district provides one math interventionist that focuses on helping deliver some of these math interventions. We actually collect data every year. We collect a number of interventions that a student participates in and compare it to their growth on Acadians. And I'll be honest, at the very beginning, we didn't see a relationship that we wanted to see. And so what we've done is we continue to refine that program. We do currently have a positive relationship, but we want a strong correlation. And so we're continuing to refine it every year. Some of the things that we've done to refine it is we defined what an intervention was so that the math interventionists knew when they were doing math intervention versus when they were doing kind of grade level tutoring or helping with the assignment. Another thing that we've done is we've instituted monthly meetings where we provide professional learning on the intervention lessons and the strategies used within the intervention lessons so that they can carry out those intervention lessons the way that they're intended to. And so I think they've been a great addition. Many elementary schools, like I said, we provide one. Many elementary schools are utilizing some of their funding to fund additional math interventionists. So that's just kind of another support that we have for early numeracy that we're doing.
Emily.
This is a question that just came as you were talking. So if a school adds more, do you add them to your team and they come to monthly meeting and stuff? Okay, well, my big question about it was, it feels like this becomes a pretty specialized position where there's a lot of knowledge and skills these people learn from you to be able to complete their job. How are we doing with retention at that position?
That is a great question. We do have a lot of turnover in that position. We are starting to see a little bit more stability. And that's one of those things that I think that the variability in our data that we were seeing was because every year it felt like we were retraining.
So you feel like the additional training may be why they're being retained more because they feel more
I
confident in
think
their
so.
jobs, or why do you think?
I think so, but there's also a lot of reasons why they leave the position too. But we are starting to see some of the same faces year after year.
Good, thank you.
The percentage I can't give you offhand, but I can find out for you.
Because this is an hourly position. It's a pair.
It is.
It's a para.
It
Okay.
is.
Okay.
But we'll utilize the help anywhere we can get it. All right. Well, that's all that I have for you today. Is there any final questions?
Everything's red. I think you're good. Thank
Sounds
you. Alrighty, we're going to move on to our consent section on our agenda. And Emily, you've got your light on.
Yeah, well, I just went backwards out of my program, so Todd.
Oh.
I would like to make a motion to hold item, sorry.
5.7.
5.7, yes.
Both of them are just one.
Just policy 4007 to pull that from the consent calendar and then adopt the rest of the consent calendar as written. And I can give a reason if everyone.
Second.
Okay.
It's been moved by Emily, seconded by Bob to pull policy 4007. And what's the word? Pass? Adopt the consent agenda. Is there any discussion to that motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, 4007. Emily?
Yes, so that's put under the consent items as non-substantive change, which I agree that it is, but I also feel like in the spirit of transparency, I want to make sure we've talked about it in public to let everyone know why the change was made. So if you look at the policy that you find in Diligent, you'll see that it's changing the elementary teacher prep time from having to be on Wednesday to just making sure that that amount of time is given instead of it having to be on Wednesday. And I think it only changes, 3 words in the policy maybe, just where it says Wednesday, it says weekly. Sorry, I'm still trying to log back in, but yeah, so it's not a change. So it is non-substantive for that reason, but we realized as we were looking at various things that we're actually out of compliance on that for our 4-day schools. For the ones that don't have an early out Wednesday, they're not able to give their teachers prep time at that time. And so we want to be able to make sure that each school can do the things that they need in order to function, but also give the teachers the prep time that they're guaranteed in this policy. There are other circumstances. For instance, if a school has groups in turnaround, or if the whole school were to be in turnaround, or there's times that a school is given a grant with a lot of money that's funneling through the school for the grant, and there'll be certain professional development people or people from the state that have certain hours that they can meet, and we need to be able to have each school to say, like, well, you're in turnaround and the state needs to come visit with you guys. Oh, sorry, our policy says you can't do that. So we want to make sure that we can be in compliance with our policies and give each school the flexibility they need to get things done that are important, including the 4-day schools, but also make sure that that teacher prep time is absolutely protected, that it is all still guaranteed, all of those hours still happen. So that's why not much change, because all that's being changed is the word Wednesday, basically, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's my explanation.
Thank you. We need a motion.
Okay. I motion to approve policy 4007 for implementation.
Moved by Emily, seconded by Bob to approve policy 4007 for implementation. Any more discussion to that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, action items. 6.1, the waiver for 4-day school weeks for our NESS schools. Do not edit me out and put me on the internet for saying that we're looking at 4-day weeks. This is for our NESS schools. NESS is our outlying areas. Ivapaw, yes, Ivapaw, Wendover, Vernon, Dugway. Okay,
Yes.
thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Good evening. Every 3 years, we are required to renew our waiver. So it's that time. Our current waiver expires in June. So I gave you the timeline, but just for the public to know, this year there was a change and we were required to have 2 public meetings. We haven't had to do that before. And so we had one on October 29th, where the purpose of that meeting was just to invite for stakeholder concerns if they had any concerns with the 4-day week. So we had it here at the district office and had Dugway and Vernon come in, and then we did it virtual for Wendover, so all at the same time, and had about a total of 25 people attend. That was just because they were mainly concerned of doing away with the 4-day week. And it's been out there and everything with principals asking all of their stakeholders if there were any concerns. My email's been out there. I haven't received any concerns. So the next part of the process was to come before you and get approval to move forward with pursuing the waiver. So if you vote to approve that, then the next step is I will have another public meeting to address any of those concerns, which there weren't any, but also to explain the whole process to them and the next steps. And then everything is due to the state board the application is due in April, and then they vote on it in June. Any questions?
Todd?
One thing from a concerned parent about this, maybe you heard this as well, but just the feedback that the days can be really long for the students, right, on a 4-day. The current plan or the current structure is 8 a.m. to 3:10 p.m. Monday through Wednesday, and then 8 a.m. to 12:30 on Thursday. The feeling like maybe that's not adequate time. This is Vernon only.
Yes, and I did receive that, and
You
thank you.
did,
But in
okay.
that same
Yes.
email,
Yep.
they were, I believe it was a she, was also stating, but we don't want to
Right.
do away with.
Do not do
not
away
having it.
with.
Yes.
Yeah. Just want to make sure that you took some of those thoughts. If school were to be changed from 8:30 to 3, Monday through Thursday, that would increase it. In other words, it sounds like not having a half day on Thursday. Is that what we're talking about here?
Possibly. So let me tell you. So Anna Smith Elementary, they actually contacted Dr. Ernst and I the last time, and they wrote a staff letter and everything. They actually wanted to not have a half day on Thursday, and so they do go the full day on Thursday, and then Mrs. Ruiz works in their planning time, so they're still able to get their planning time and things. But yes, so they do go the whole time on Thursdays.
See. So how do you determine, do we go full day Thursday? Do we go half day Thursday in Vernon? Is it based on feedback from parents and other concerned people? Or is it more like, hey, it just doesn't make sense, so we're gonna do it this way?
Yeah, so when Anna Smith, when their staff wanted to do that, I floated that idea with Mrs. Livingston, who's our, admin intern there, and then also with Mr. Westora, and they brought it to their staff, and their staff, they wanted to stick with having a half day for that planning time. That's when they wanted to use their planning time. And they looked at their data and things ahead, and that was one of the main things for Anna Smith at that time. They felt like it was part of their looking at their data. They wanted more time with their students to get more teaching in and improve scores.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're familiar with that, you know the conversation, you know the concerns with that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
So we need a motion to approve this,
That
correct,
I
for
move
tonight?
forward with
Yes.
pursuing the waiver, yes.
Yes. Okay. So, Bob?
I move that we give approval for them to move forward with the waiver for the 4-day school week for our NESS schools.
I'll second that.
Moved by Bob, seconded by Todd to approve the waiver request for the 4-day school week for our NESS schools. Any more discussion of that motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Dr. Ernst, I saw your light go on. Did I miss it?
No,
Sorry.
you're good. I just want to say that I think it'll be prudent for us to go back as district leaders to look at specifically Vernon Elementary and decide whether or not, I don't know that, and I don't want this to sound harsh, I don't know that it's appropriate that the decision to have an early out day is the teachers. I think it's appropriate for the school district and us as leaders to say, yes, you can have it, or no, you can't, based on these criteria. And so we'll talk about what that looks like, and it may turn out the same, but it may turn out that those students need a little bit of extra time and need some more, so we'll look at that, the impacts, both keeping it and possibly extending that Thursday out, because there's definitely an impact on our teachers, so we want to look at that as well. But so we'll include that, and we'll bring that back we'll bring it back here before we take it to the state, so you know what that final application looks like. So.
Okay, yeah, and can I add to that? So also, you can see in the timeline, but part of the process is that I send a survey out to staff and parents, and I have that ready to go based on what, if you voted moving forward. But I can also maybe add a question in there for, something with the prep time or with parents on full day, half day, something like that. I can add that to part of the survey as well. So that is set to go out soon and will be open through December. So, yeah, and we, like you said, we can have those discussions, Dr. Ernst. So, and another part of the application is that I send in data. So I send in student achievement data, attendance data, and it's a pretty big packet of information that's sent in. So can look at that too and compare some of that. So
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Okay. 6.2. Oh, wait. Nope. Information waiver for, no. 6.2, positive behavior plans. Julie Spindler, our prevention and YIC supervisor.
Yes.
What's youth in custody?
Youth in care.
Youth in care.
Youth in care.
Okay.
Yes. So, as many of you know, we've been through this process since Utah Code was adopted a few years ago, that we receive funding to implement positive behavior plans in every school. Each school is then tasked with putting together this positive behavior plan. So, do you want me to, sorry. Then you don't have to worry about it, Dustin. So just the positive behavior plans were put in place to address really e-cigarettes was the impetus for all of this. But then they wanted to make sure that e-cigarettes as well as all other substances were addressed with positive behavior plans, as well as PBIS situations in each school. So addressing mental health, peer pressure, all of those kinds of things. And I'll just so the law basically states that all violations need to be reported to a school administrator, which we always comply with. We can also, if there's multiple situations where students get in trouble for having e-cigarettes or other substances, then we can involve our SROs or law enforcement. And it also gives directives about what administrators are to do with an e-cigarette when they confiscate it. And then just kind of goes into the law. But each positive behavior plan that's turned into us and needs to be approved by our district and turned into the state, it is to be proactive, to cover and expand positive programming. So really we want the preventative outlook on everything, to emphasize PBIS in our schools, so making sure our schools all have defined rules and expectations, how they teach those rules and expectations, and monitoring, and then making sure that each of our schools are implementing some of the strategies that we have been using throughout our district for the last long time. We'll just say that. Whether it's Second Step, Rethink Ed, Tough Kids Toolbox, we have implemented the Aware Grant, Champs and Stoic, which is, we've done that with our teachers, and then also our attendance strategies and goals, which has been a big deal in the last little while. So who is going to implement this plan? So per Utah code, our schools are to implement those plans. The principal is to write the plan, and then it can be anybody at the school that is there. That it can be anybody who is a teacher, it can be a secretary, it can be anybody who is prevention-minded and oriented and proactive in putting that together.
Can I stop you
Yes,
right there?
yes.
Scott Bryan has a question. Oh,
I may have a question and she may
Okay,
cover it. So
all right.
oh, okay.
Okay.
Keep going then.
So here's the steps. The principals write the plan. It was sent out to them in September, and then they turned it in October. And now we're at the school board approval piece of this. And then as soon as that gets approved, the funding goes into their accounts to be able to spend on PBIS strategies in their schools. And then we get an annual report at the end of the year. So, questions?
I do have a question. I pulled up the code, and I do not see where it's required that the school board approve it. I see that a positive behavior specialist shall submit a written report to the LEA governing board. So we need a report back, but I don't see anywhere in this that says that we need to approve it. And
I'll
I'm
find
looking
it.
at the state code right
Okay,
here.
okay.
So and far from an attorney, but
USB board rule.
It may be board rule,
But
but
the
I
state
do know that state
legislature-
code says, well, what I have read before, unless they have revamped it, and I know that we've been directed by USBE that we needed board approval.
Approval.
yeah, it doesn't call for that here. State code, the actual code. And we can, I guess.
We can approve it,
Well, the
but
point
maybe-
being, if I read what you put, it says that principals will write the plan and that if we're really approving it, that would mean that we have to see everyone individually in front of us.
We did.
You do
We
have
do.
them.
There's a spreadsheet of all.
And then take that time to review it and approve it. I'm just suggesting to you that if I read the code, that it doesn't say that we have to do that, that it's approved by a specialist that we designate. That'll probably be Julie, I don't know, whatever. But I'm just questioning the need. I
Yeah,
don't see
no,
the
I think
need.
that's fair to question for sure.
Got a question.
Okay, can we think on that and let me get the other two questions,
Yeah,
to
that's
Scott? Okay, Todd and then Emily.
I was going to ask about data, and although we don't have to have data, it looks like here, but how big of a problem do we have with these types of things going on in our schools? And are there some schools that are higher priority than others? So, you know, this junior high school has a bigger problem. We want to put them at the top of the list to get this moving forward. Any data around what that looks like, Julie?
Well, I'll answer both of those questions. And if I don't, please
It is in there.
let me know. But first, the SHARP survey data. We took the SHARP survey in March of 2025. Usually we have it by now, and I actually was on the agenda to present that data, and we have not yet received it from the state.
That's like my favorite.
So I'm hoping, they're assuring us it's going to be to us by the end of November. So my thinking is then I can review it, and then I'll probably come in January. So in terms of substance use, just off the top of my head, I'm not going to quote numbers or anything, but most of our kids are not using any substance. And those kids who are using, a lot of times they fall in the lifetime use. If they have used, they've used maybe once or twice. They're not regular users, so they have not indicated that they've used in the last 30 days. And like I said, I can't give you numbers and specifics, but what I can tell you is that we have longitudinal data from 1997 that tells us that our trends have completely gone down with substance use. Our prevention efforts community-wide have made a big difference in students who use and the percentage of students who use. So we had a little blip in, I want to say 2007-ish, with marijuana use, and it went up a little bit, and then it has decreased. We also saw a little blip when legalization of marijuana happened in surrounding states, which was a national trend. So it wasn't anything unusual in our area. But in terms of substance use, our rates are better than they've ever, like, better in a good way. We have many less students that percentage-wise that are using. Yes.
Before
Scott,
Emily goes,
really
I have to repent and say I found it in the code. It
Oh,
was
good.
buried, so you're good.
I'm so glad.
I reread it, and it was a sub to a sub, so that's my
Okay.
excuse. I'll stick with it. But regardless, it is there, and you're good. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm glad we got to think on it for a minute. Okay,
It's
Emily.
not written clearly usually. Yeah, so when I was looking across all the things that all of the schools were doing, and as you were talking, reinforced it, there are so many different things and programs. And so we know that we're trending in a good direction. So something we're doing or what we're doing as a community is effective. Do we have any way of knowing which of these tons of things are effective, or do they each just hit such different
They all
pieces,
hit-
we need them all?
Yeah,
or-
so they all hit different pieces. Like second step, we focus pre-K through 8.
Right.
Rethink Ed, we focus 9th through 12th in our social emotional learning, but then also our schools have been given kind of a crosswalk so that if they're teaching a second step lesson that's focusing on making good friends, then here's the Rethink supplement that you can use. But in terms of like what is working, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. There's probably things that aren't even on there, like we've really hit for the last few years as a district, building relationships with kids
Yeah.
is really important. And how do you measure that?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard,
You're not
right?
requesting funding for
right.
that, yeah.
No, yeah. Yeah,
Well,
but
and the reason why I asked is because, I mean, and maybe everyone's doing so great and they don't even care. But when I was looking across, I was like, oh, that school has to do this and this and this and this. And it felt a little overwhelming. So I just wondered if everybody is like, yes, I love all of these things in my toolbox, wouldn't change a thing.
Right.
Or if there's maybe something that is repetitive and we could take it off of people's plates.
well,
I don't know.
And don't count everything as something they have to do. Some of it is integrated
Something they
in
have
what they
access
already
to.
do.
Okay.
A lot of them are just tools for their toolbox or their strategies for them to be able to use, just like champs. It's not something they have to do, but it's something they have to do, right? It's not like a curriculum that they teach, but it's a process to make sure that I have classroom management going on.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and if everyone loves it, that's awesome. I'm always looking for ways to take things off people's plates. So,
I hear you. I hear you.
but if it's great,
Yes.
then it's.
Okay.
Scott? Oh, that was from before. Okay. All right. Okay.
Any other
questions? All righty. Well, with that, then I am looking for a motion. Scott, are you going
Since
to?
it's required by law, I will give you, I will motion that we approve the, what do we call this?
Positive behavior plans in schools.
Positive behavior plans from the schools as presented.
Second.
Moved by Scott, seconded by Elizabeth, that we approve the 2025-26 positive behavior plans in schools. Any more discussion to that motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay, 6.3, approval of the CTE program name.
Good evening. This is a follow-up from our spring presentation. And hopefully you received our shortened presentation that we sent. And so we'd just like to come and present what we would like to do. So as you can tell, we have a great CLC, which is the Community Learning Center. It houses 5 different programs, from Blue Peak High School to the adult ed to the career and technical education. Well, what we found is people don't quite understand when we put it into the CLC, CTE, CLC. A lot of people don't understand, and they don't recognize the cool programs we have there. Oh, there we go. Okay, so as we want to go forward, we want to give it identity to the career and technical education courses, because we have incredible programs, from a culinary program that gets people to go straight into the kitchens, and have created community dinners for over 150. By accident, we went up to under 180 at one point, and the kids came through. Incredible. To a computer program, to dentistry, to law enforcement, to graphics. And our graphics this year went to nationals, and they won nationals. The year before, it was cosmetology with those 3 great teachers, and they took kids to nationals. However, wherever we go, we meet great teams and great districts, like Davis has a Catalyst Center, the Granite Technical Institute, GTI. They all have identities. And when we show up, we say, hey, we're a community learning center. And when I took a group of students with, I helped go with a group of students to the state penitentiary down, and they were welcome. We were, hey, come on in. Who are you guys? And we said, we are the CLC. And they go, what's that? And we go, Community Learning Center. And they go, oh, are you the tech college over there? And we just finally at that point said, yeah, sure. But we don't want to do that. We want our own identification. We want to, both in competitions and when we go places, have an identification. Grant Roberts here has kind of been here from the beginning of this process. He's helped look through these names. I believe 3 or 4 years ago they did Ochre Tech. And at that time we had a misunderstanding that was trying to name the building and everything, and so it's kind of put off. We're not trying to rename the building. It's just a program identification. The CLC is a great name for the building for what it does. Over the last 3 years, we did surveys, and the Community Learning Center, we came up with the Tooele ACE Center, or Advanced Career Exploration. And in over 2 years of 5 surveys and over 827 responses, that acronym, that definition, that identification is 55%, where if you look below, there's 5 other ones that we threw in to try and see if there's something else that really still didn't match. What we did on research on this name is, I had heard it once at a tech conference of a school in California, and we thought maybe it's just California's way, so maybe we don't want to touch it. But as we did a Google search and went in search, it was an acronym used across the country in different places. One is at Advanced Construction in Reno, Nevada. New Mexico, New York has different ones with acronyms. The one place that doesn't have that acronym for a school name is Utah. And so like for Summit is used both as a district and several schools. So it's kind of used throughout. And if we did Peak Tech Center, well, that would be really confusing with Deseret Peak, Blue Peak, and Peak Tech. I mean, it would be a disaster. I think we'd be lost our identification again. So, coming with that, I asked Grant to kind of put what does ACE stand for.
And these logo ideas are just very preliminary, very rough ideas, and doesn't represent necessarily the final logo that we're looking for. But the word ACE can, and the concept of wings can mean a lot of things, as far as getting students to soar to new heights. And as pilots, they can earn their wings. They, and it's all about achievement. And an ace pilot has many victories in the sky during wartime, obviously, and also those wings do represent going places and soaring to new heights and moving forward. So we thought that the ACE concept with wings really would be beneficial. And I might add that one of the greatest things that we're looking for is that we can brand our program, because as teachers some classes are very full, some classes struggle to get enrollment, and there's a lot of pressure to put on us that we need to help market our programs. But how do we market something that doesn't have a name? We can't make brochures and necessarily and flyers and T-shirts and stuff like that to brand ourselves if we don't have a name. So we want to be able to create an identity, and that over time will become more familiar. So when students at the other schools that send students to us, they can start referring to us as, "Hey, you're going to go take an ACE class. What ACE class are you taking?" Or "I'm going to go up to the ACE Center and take my graphics class." And that word ACE will become very familiar to people over time. As right now, it will refer to it as the advanced, what did we say again? I'm losing my mind. Advanced Career Exploration, yeah.
And can I ask a question? So, and right now it's like, oh, I'm going to take CTE classes at the CLC. That's kind of what is said now, right? Kind of type deal.
I always survey my students and ask them, what does CTE stand for? They're not even really sure necessarily. And what does CLC stand for? No one exactly knows for sure.
Yeah.
So those are little letters they hear. They become familiar with it, and that's kind of become our default brand, but it's not really accurate and doesn't represent us very well, and it's not very good for marketing either.
No.
Wait, and we did put up some others that had come up. Spark is one that's kind of out there that would kind of mirror. Douglas has their name that's kind of,
Douglas.
Not Douglas, my bad. Davis Catalyst, where Catalyst is a starter. And that's where Spark came up. That's having Ochre Tech is the one that they came up before. These are the times, but these all would give identity. Our preference, as we found out working with our our support parents, teachers, and everything, and students, is where the ACE, Advanced Career Exploration, comes into. And I noticed in the spring when we brought it up, we didn't really put the word Tooele in it, and that was kind of confusing of, well, where are you from? We're not just the ACE Center. And so that's where we added the Tooele to. What we would go from here is continue with the logo and branding, signage creation. Every school, let me backtrack on that. Most schools will have banners on poles, light poles outside. They'll have window clings that kind of advertise, and that's what we would look. And in fact, it wouldn't just be for the ACE Center. It would also be for Blue Peak, to where kids and people would know what part of the building they're in. The Digital Education Center is over here, and we would kind of add to the building to where it's much more visitor friendly, so they know where they're going in the building. At the same time, it is part of our science creation for the ACE. We would update our website and then communications with parents, community, and students. So,
Elizabeth.
I find it very fitting that you're presenting ACE with pilots on Veterans Day.
yeah, I would like to say that. But in respect to those who went before us, I just like the coincidence.
Todd.
I lived through a rebranding with a large healthcare organization in our state, and it cost multi-millions of dollars. What's the cost to the school district in terms of rebranding this, and do you have some preliminary budget numbers of what that would be?
I don't have complete budget, but with ours, I know we have the ability on site and with the district to do the communications with the website, so we can take care of that. We have graphics designers, which we do compensate them for, but we do it in-house. Signage we can do in-house and even out. I'm not anticipating add to anything beyond what our current budget is for capital outlay to cover for this first year going forward. I would say in the future we are going to need, and our marquee out front is getting old and it's outdated even for what it looks kind of raggedy, so I'd want to update in the next few years, and that would take some, and I would have to research that. And I think that would be the biggest expense at this point. I have ordered window clings for Sterling Elementary was there, and we just we did it with our capital outlay. And so that's where we would start. If you want, we could research more and give you an estimate. At this point, I just counted on that.
Bob.
Well, in touring your facility, I was going to say a lot of that rebranding can be done in-house from what I've gathered, as I've traveled around. The other thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to thank the CLC or the CTE teachers at the CLC. Thank you for your patience, because this has been a long process in trying to get to this point. I really like the idea that you've done 5 separate surveys and you've, because it's hard to get respondents for sure, and I appreciate everything that you guys have put into this, and I personally don't have a problem with the ACE Center. I see the value of branding. It's I guess maybe that's because of being a former CTE teacher. I know what the effects of branding can do for a program, and I know how it benefits a program, and so I think it's something that we really need to move forward on.
I was going to say I appreciate that Tooele's in there now. I didn't like the ACE, I think, because it was, anyways, looking at the other ones, it's Jordan Tech, it's Davis, all of them. So I am happy that Tooele is in there. For me, that was one of my things. I saw that Ochre Point or Ochre Tech is in there, and that's kind of like our side of the mountain, but it's also that other side of Salt Lake. Anyways, I don't know. There's some things in there that you guys have done all the surveys you need, so I don't know. I'm either more discussion or a motion. Bob, is that what you're doing?
I'll go ahead and throw a motion out. I move that we approve that the CTE programs at the CLC program can brand themselves as the Tooele ACE Center.
Second.
Moved by Bob, seconded by Elizabeth, to approve the CTE program at the CLC to be named the Tooele ACE Center. Is there any more discussion of this motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Whew, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Sorry about that. Revised policy 9001, use of Tooele County School District facilities. This is our second read. Tiffany Miner, we'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight for a second read on the policy, like you said, 9001, building use. Just a little review on the policy revision. The policy hasn't been updated for 15 years, and at that time there wasn't a building scheduling department. So the revision is basically transferring the responsibility from the assistant superintendent to the building scheduling coordinator, as well as some state code revision on insurance. The question that arose for the need, the second read, is in section C, number 3, fees associated with rentals. The most commonly seen adjustment of fees on reservations is our youth programs. As the policy sits right now, we don't have any rates specified for our youth programs. We do see and we understand that there's a need for them to utilize our facilities, to participate in youth activities and sports and all of that, because our county doesn't have a rec center. We've come up with a price for our youth programs that's equal across the board. So as those reservations come in, it automatically gets adjusted by myself to that rate. So everybody gets the same rate across the board. All the youth programs know that they can expect that fair treatment across the board. As discussed at the last board meeting, there was a concern if everybody didn't feel like they were getting the fair treatment, that we wanted to make sure that there was a third person involved. So with the new verbiage on the future reservations, the policy now reads the same as it did before, but it also says the waiver is contingent await times. If there's any uncertainty or question regarding the waiver of user fees, the Director of Operations may be consulted for guidance. So that was the only change from last time. Do you guys feel like there's anything else that's in question about that?
Was there any public comment? Did you get any feedback?
No,
Okay.
nothing.
I have a comment, Madam
Yes.
President. I think the fees are great. One of my children started competition basketball, and today we got the bill, and I was like, that's all it is? So it is a fabulous deal.
Yeah, definitely. Alls we really charge
our
for is the supervision fees. So they don't pay the facility rental fee. So it's really great for the programs to be able to utilize. Yeah,
Buildings. Thank you.
for sure.
Okay, I need a motion.
Yeah, before. May
Oh,
I-
Todd, sorry.
Great work on this, thank you. I just wonder, just to that very sentence that you read, if there is any uncertainty or question regarding, then the Director of Operations may be consulted for guidance. That is that third person.
Yeah.
Does this mean that who would contact the Director of Operations? The person who has a question or some uncertainty?
Usually how it works is if there's any questions, obviously I go to Ian,
Right.
any questions there are. So usually the people will contact me first, and then if I have questions, I'll go to Ian, and he always has a great outcome on how to handle or how to address the situation if I'm not able to address. So it's basically, and people do go directly to him at times too,
I'm
and
sure
then
he
he'll
loves that.
yeah, and then he'll consult me as well.
Yeah.
So we work just as a great team anyways on all of the reservations processes, so.
Yeah, I just wonder too, uncertainty or question, or maybe a disagreement about it, right? Maybe that's all built into uncertainty or
There's
question,
never
right?
any disagreements,
No,
so we don't
there's
need to
not.
worry about it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
kidding.
Exactly. And I almost wonder if disagreement should be in there.
Okay.
Just so that people, I mean, it's just a thought.
Do you
You know.
guys all feel the same?
Put it in your motion. You can include it in the motion.
Okay, well, let's make a motion here.
So you want it to be,
Yeah, I motion
If
that
there's
we
a disagreement.
approve, I think, approve 9001 with, on the condition of adding the word disagreement.
would you like to take any of the other words out, or you want it to be in accordance with that?
Uncertainty, question, or disagreement, is that some
Right,
three things?
that's the question. If there's any disagreement or question is how
Okay.
I would put that.
Perfect.
Uncertainty, I guess that could be in there as well, but maybe it's just a little thing, but I just want to make sure that it's specified that way as well.
Yeah,
if we
for
can.
sure.
Okay.
So disagreement or
Disagreement
concern.
or question? Disagreement or question?
Disagreement or
Yeah,
concern, or
regarding
question.
the waiver. Yeah,
Perfect.
if there's any disagreement or question regarding the waiver, okay. I'm just a little better with that, but it's just a word, so I'm able to move on.
And I'll second it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, no, we haven't, because I haven't said it yet. So it's been moved by Todd, seconded by Elizabeth, to approve revised policy 9001, use of Tooele County School District facilities, with the addition of the word disagreement
In place of uncertainty.
in place of uncertainties. Is there discussion to this motion?
Yeah, I have a comment there. Yeah, I wasn't bothered with it the way that it was, but I just want to make sure that this is the way that you're wanting it, because I'm also fine with that. So it says if there's any disagreement or question, then the director of operations may be consulted. It doesn't mean that they're going to be consulted. Would you like for them to be consulted anytime there's a disagreement? So then we would need to change may to will, or are you okay with it this way?
Initially, I was okay with it this way, just to give people the opportunity to manage this, correct it hopefully, before it has to go to the director of operations.
Okay, so you're fine if there's a disagreement with the director of operations potentially not being consulted?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am.
All right.
I'm okay with that,
I am too.
personally.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 6.5, sex education materials. Chantel, you're back.
I am back. It's good because I left my pen up here. We're bringing the sex education materials back for a second read. There were two changes that were made. In the junior high presentation, we did update scenario 3 to represent a boy-girl couple. And then on the contraception PowerPoint, we did update that last slide so that parents are listed first, and then I can't remember what's listed after it. Trusted adult comes second.
Was there any public feedback?
I only received one, and it was agreeing that parents should be listed first.
Oh, okay. Good. Elizabeth?
I did receive some feedback, and it was about scenario 3.
Oh.
And I would like to make a comment on scenario 3. So my feedback from constituents is reflected to me that I was not clear last month in communicating my mind on this matter. So by leaving the scenario as a same gender relationship scenario, some people could feel confused or concerned and presented it to children that could unintentionally condone or encourage such relationships. And I can understand that this would be very disturbing and upsetting to parents whose views on what is a healthy relationship do not align with such thinking. And I am thankful for parents in this district who are involved in actively working to instill values in their children that are important to them. In fact, before my time of service on this board, I would have been one of those parents concerned about that scenario too. However, now as a board member, I represent all of the constituents, not just my own children, and not just the interests and values of what is held dear within the walls of my home. So the purpose of this consent module is to protect children from coercion, abuse, and exploitation, and to help them recognize unhealthy interactions. So we do have students in our district that are in same-gender relationships, and many of these relationships are kept secret from parents or others who could give guidance and oversight. I spoke out in support of keeping the scenario same gender as a way to speak directly to those students who are arguably at a greater danger for unhealthy relationships, in part because they are less likely to be consulting a parent or a trusted adult. I support the decision to change the scenario. However, I did like how it was originally written because of its potential to speak to these vulnerable students.
All righty. Thank you, Elizabeth. I need, if there's any more questions, comments, or I'm looking for a motion because we're ready to implement.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll motion that we approve the sex ed materials as presented.
And I'll second.
Moved by Scott, seconded by Elizabeth to approve sex education materials as presented. Is there any more discussion to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. 6.6, revised policy 1015, employee travel expense. Employee travel expense. It's a first read.
Okay, so what you have in front of you is it's an effort to align 1015 with 3035.2, and that helps the district to update the IRS rate and the General Services Administration rates for travel. So that helps us to update that as well as make the alignment. So what will happen is now people will need to go and submit that employee travel request form. And once they do that, then they'll be subject to the updated amounts. And that is found on the district's website under the staff login, which I'm thankful for Elizabeth pointing out where that needed to be, and that's where it's at. So do we have any questions that I can answer?
It doesn't look like there's any question. Oh, Emily or Todd?
You can ask a question. No, I was just going to say, if anybody has got a lot of curiosities about this policy, that there's a template that goes along with the policy that gives a very, very clear explanation of all of the problems that are solved by adopting this policy and the reasons why. So it's a lot of, like you said, code. So
Yep.
Okay. Then I'm looking for a motion, please. Emily?
no, go for it.
Oh,
Somebody has something.
Emily or Bob?
Go for it.
I move that we move policy 1015, employee travel expenses, to a second read. Is that what you want, or did you want implementation?
Implementation.
Move it to implementation.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved by Bob, seconded by Emily to move revised policy 1015 for implementation. Any discussion? Oh, Lark.
I do. I gotta speak up on this one. There's some other things that were talked about making changes. I think it'd be important to get some feedback. Yeah. Specifically, we're changing one rate and not another, and we have nothing in there about the lodging rates, which are currently not being followed. So that's why I think it would be important to bring it back for a second read.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
No problem there.
So who does?
I'm okay changing my amendment, my motion to go to a second read.
Been moved by Bob, seconded by Emily to move policy 1015, employee travel expense, to a second read. Is there any discussion of that motion? Todd?
Are there other things that we should keep in mind, Lark, that you're seeing, not just the lodging, but other, maybe some gaps that need to be covered that we should be thinking about, that you can vocalize here tonight? Is it just lodging we're missing is what I'm asking?
Lodging specifically, I'm confused on the intent of the per diem, to be frank. Was the intent to tie it to a GSA rate where it varies by location, or was it just dollar figures that are in there? That's what needs to be clarified, I think.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Revised, oh, it's already there. New policy, research approval process and surveys. Andy Peterson.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, this is a new policy that I'm bringing forward so that we can get a definition for what research is for us in Tooele County School District, also for surveys. We've had a lot of research requests recently, and we'd like to define that and put that into policy as to what we consider research in our district and also what we consider surveys. We've had a lot of surveys going out in schools that sometimes we don't hear about in the assessment and research department. And so this is defining what surveys need to be approved and at what level they need to be approved as well. This is being a new policy. I'm asking for it to come back for a second read. Yeah, are there any questions?
Todd?
It's not a question, I'm ready to move.
Okay.
I move that we, policy 11000, move forward for a second read.
Moved by Todd, seconded by Bob, to move new policy 11000 to a second read. Is there any discussion of that motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 6.8, revised policy 5069, education and family privacy. This is a first read. Andy Peterson again.
Yes, this is first read for revision of this policy. The revision of this policy it's just being updated to align with current state code and board rules, which is why I'm asking for implementation tonight. The main updates on this is updating I'm sorry, my mind just went blank, is updating where you need informed consent. Sorry, thank you. Updating informed consent. The main change on that wasn't in there before that has been updated is gender identity, being able to ask concerning gender identity. And that is something we've already gotten out to our schools as well, but we needed to update that. And then also the requirement, updating the requirement of parent getting information out to parents and when that information may not need to go to parents.
Okay.
So.
Alrighty. Todd?
Oh, no.
I'm looking for a motion then.
Yeah. 6.8, right?
6.9.
6.9.
Oh, 8.
No, 8.
Sorry.
I move that we adopt revised policy 5069 and implement.
I'll second.
Moved by Bob, seconded by Scott to adopt revised policy 5069 for implementation. Is there any discussion of this motion? Todd?
So on this, is it simply bringing it up to state requirements?
Yes.
Really nothing beyond that?
Nothing
short
new.
of that?
Yep.
That's what it is?
Bringing it up to state requirements. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 6.9, thank you. 6.9, revised policy 4014, employee leave. Lark Reynolds.
Okay, checking my notes here, keep me on task. This one, simply put, the intent of this is to convert leave that is currently tracked in days to hours. That was just to keep it simple. That was the intent here. It wasn't to get into any other changes. The logic behind that is we're in the process of implementing a new timekeeping system. And it just, even though I know we teach math and people can do math, since it's tracking their time and hours, it just makes sense to convert leave to hours for that system. So that's really the ultimate goal. I know this is a first read, and so I was pointed out there's a typo, if those of you are wanting to point that out. We are aware that on the annual leave under section, I guess we'll call it 3B, there was one area we left days in there that should have been hours, how much they accrue. So we are aware of that, needing to make that change. With that, any questions?
Scott, do you have any questions?
Well, he caught the one I caught, but there are a couple other spots that we still use or days, and I was looking down on what page? How do I find this spot? It's G on page 5G. We have, and I like the idea of using hours. That makes it so much cleaner. But 5G still has 8 hours or 1 day, and then or 24 hours or 3 days, as well as the next section. It's 8 hours or 1 day. So there was just a couple others.
Yeah.
Because I do love the idea of just it's clean, right? Hours.
You say G, are you referring to?
It's on page
5
5
or 6.
Yeah, it goes between 5 and 6, right at the
Okay,
bottom of 5
family
and the top of
leave,
6.
where
Yeah.
it's in or hours. Yeah, I should have went into a little more detail. So originally, this was to convert all leave to hours, and we pumped the brakes on that. So certified employees will remain at days, is the way it's currently written. So because some of these sections apply both to certified employees and classified, I'll call it. I shouldn't say just classified. We have them grouped into 3 major buckets. Classified and administrative would be moving to hours. Certified would not. And so that's why we had to leave some days in there, because it refers specifically to both certified and classified administrative.
Is that
Does make
clarified
sense?
somewhere at the top? Or maybe if we're taking it to a second read, we can just clarify that? Either way.
And maybe I can help explain. Is that, can I,
Well,
from the
and
policy
I
committee?
appreciated the explanation,
Yeah.
but I think we should memorialize it. That's
So,
what I'm suggesting.
so two of the things that we are facing here, and correct me wrong,
No, you're-
correct me if I'm
you're
wrong,
good. Go
policy
for it.
committee, as I try to explain this, but one of the things that we've got to do is we've got to pass a portion of this so that LARC can start converting and using the time clock into the 8-hour increments as stated, okay? The other thing that was brought out in the last policy committee is if you look at the prior revised dates of this, and 414 has been hit hard with different revisions, and it's, let's just be honest, it's quite, what's the word, Chantel, jumbled a little bit in different places. So I think the desire tonight is to go ahead and give LARC the go-ahead to start converting hours according to what he has presented, with it coming back, Scott, on a second read after the policy committee has had time to look at the entire policy and correct a lot of that and make it read in a better way. Is that kind of?
That's why I had my light on. Thank you for.
So anyway, I think we need to, one is we need to take this in entirety back to a second read, but we need to allow LARC, because he's been waiting through this process to get started with the conversion, you know, for hours.
Could you just go ahead and make that motion?
So if we, and make sure I'm making this motion right. So I'll make the motion that we bring back policy 414 for a second read, but we allow LARC Reynolds to start making the conversion with our new timekeeping system for hourly employees.
Okay, I'll repeat it back, I think. We are going to move revised policy 4014, employee leave, to a second read, and allow LARC to make the conversion for hourly employees.
Yes. Immediately.
Starting, being able to start.
Effective, yeah. There's already, so it's been moved by Bob. Who did it second? Todd, seconded by Todd. Okay, is there discussion to that motion? LARC.
Yeah, I've had some thoughts on it, so
Okay.
let me see if this works for you. I actually like getting word out to employees relatively quick. We have an email draft that we'll just review again, get out to employees, because when you're going to do a conversion mid-year like this, you need to let them know a date, because it's going to change how that's going to affect. And so the thought is that, I know this is going to sound weird because I know we talked about doing a second read with more changes. I thought, what if we bring back the second read next month with just these minor changes, and then we can have a third read with the bigger ideas you want, just to give us time to put it out to employees. That way you have some feedback on just the initial hours to, days to hours conversion. And so it feels like you would have at least 3 opportunities to look at it. I'm just wondering if that's overkill, or you just want me to make it 1 and we'll just start sending out the email.
Can I answer that?
You can.
Yes.
I think what we ought to do is start where we're at tonight, and then as because the policy committee will be meeting, I think let's have that discussion in the policy of what you're perceiving as we get ready to bring it back for a second read.
Okay.
Because I think the key variable is when we bring it back to a second, there's nothing precluding us from bringing it to a third, and then when we get a third, we could go to a fourth. I mean,
Yeah.
as necessary. But I think the key from tonight, what I'm hearing is we can start converting those hours now. We're approving
The process.
that we're approving the hour conversion now, and the policy in whole will be revisited. And then, depending on how many times that takes, Lark, it might take 6. I mean, I hope not, but we're just saying, all we're doing is bringing that forward again.
Okay.
But it gives you the tools for now. Is that helpful?
Yeah, the reason I put it that way is I wasn't sure the timing on it coming back, because I'm just telling you my impression of that first policy committee we were in there. That could take months to go through the full policy is the only reason I bring that up.
I'm only speaking as one member of the policy committee, but I do believe that our intent would try to be to bring it back the next meeting, in the December meeting. Depending on how.
I mean, you never know what we run up against, but
you
that
know,
was the intention.
I
that
think
we
that's the
discussed.
intent, and I think if everything works according to plan and the policy, we have the policy in front of us that day, I don't see a reason it can't. So, but that's solely my opinion.
Okay.
Emily.
I was just going to just note that we are hoping that this is actually advantageous for employees, because they're now being given greater flexibility of how much time they have to use at once.
Yeah. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Six point 1 is revised policy 11014, sex education. This is a first read.
Okay, this policy's been updated for sex education so that it's in compliance with the new legislation that had just passed. Are there any questions?
Emily? Oh, Anne Elizabeth, I'm sorry, I don't know who.
No,
did
if
it
you have some
first.
questions, I was just going to say, you read through it, it's just exactly what the legislature said, giving different requirements for how often it has to be looked at, and the data and reporting and things like that. But having said that, this is something that would be good to get feedback on, and maybe some people would have questions that could be answered before we implement it. But I'll let Elizabeth say.
My question is then, when a student's parents do not give permission for them to be involved, what do they do instead?
Thank you. So the for maturation, it's a little different because they're pulled into a different room and do a different activity. But for health, or I guess any other secondary classes doing any aspect of sex education, generally what happens is that this teacher meets with the student prior to and arranges for somewhere for them to go. That way they're not being outed and like, hey, you have to go to a different room. And so prior arrangements are made. Usually it's the library. And so they go to the library and then they're given an alternate activity to work on. A lot of times for like health, they're giving materials that they can read through, pick a health topic of their choice, and then do some type of presentation, whether it be a report or some type of visual representation of what they just learned. So there is other things that we can have them do that aren't aligned to the sex education standards, but the only way we can instruct on sex education is if we have the permission slip signed by the parent.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking for a motion. Emily?
I move that we move revised policy 1101 for sex education to a second read.
Moved by Emily, seconded by Bob to move revised policy 11014 sex education forward for a second read. Any more discussion of that motion? Todd.
Yeah, just purpose for a second read versus adopting.
Like
what
I
we
said,
have.
because it's because of the nature of it, it's good for the community to get a chance to look at it and provide feedback.
Thank you so much.
The opportunity, yes. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 6.11, revised policy 4030, employee prohibition of bullying, abusive conduct, hazing, and cyberbullying for a first read. This is from the recent audit.
Yes, so this comes from the recent bullying hazing audit that the district underwent. And in there, and I'm actually looking at both the adults, so I'll start with the adults. In section E, excuse me, E1 already requires employees, coaches, volunteers, and students to undergo anti-bullying, cyberbullying instruction, training. It's also brought up again in 4 and 5. And so then we're looking at just removing 6 and 7 because it's redundant. One of the things that got brought up in the audit was finding a way to track who had taken the UHSAA training. That is not required by UHSAA training to do their specific course. It's required by UHSAA to have anti-bullying training every year, and they can't coach until that's done. But nowhere is that required. It has to be their training. So we're just looking to simplify, because if we leave it as is, they're going through redundant training year after year. In the case of a year, if there wasn't district training, then they would have to do the UHSA anti-bullying training, which they won't be able to coach without it anyway. So we're just looking to get rid of the redundancy in the policy.
Scott?
Just making sure I get the right in the motion, but I believe it's policy 4030, right?
Correct.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure of one thing. Oh, it did get, and in 5, we took out safe schools because we might not always have safe schools being the platform. It still says mandatory training. So we're just cleaning up the policy at that time so it's not specific.
So I will motion that we approve policy 4030 as presented for implementation.
Moved by Scott, seconded by Emily to approve revised policy 4030, employee prohibition of bullying, abusive conduct, hazing, and cyberbullying for implementation. Any more discussion of that motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 6.12, revised policy 6032. This is also a first read. So
This is the student side of it. Once again, in G1, students we're already required to train students about anti-bullying behavior. And once again, we start getting into that redundancy. And in the audit, it became impossible I actually reached out to National Federation of High Schools. They couldn't even give me who had done all the training under theirs. They don't even keep track of it. So we'd have to keep track of any and all students who are involved in any extracurricular in the district. So we'd have thousands of kids that have to create accounts, and then I'd have to probably look at them individually one by one because they don't compile a report, but it's already required. I mean, we are required to have, within this policy, to have anti-bullying training for students. So once again, it's just getting rid of that redundancy that's in there.
Okay.
Well, we'll keep it going. And I would motion that we approve policy 6032 as presented for implementation.
Moved by Scott, seconded by Bob to approve revised policy 6032 as presented for implementation. Is there any more discussion of that motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Information, discussion, or calendar items. Superintendent, you're at the podium today. No.
He's trying something new.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, happy to take a few minutes today, give some updates, give some stuff looking forward. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, Dustin told me there was a little bit of a delay. Hats off to Tara Sherwood. She created this chart for me, I don't know, a couple months ago. But one thing that we, with the OLAG audit that they did last school year, we wanted a quick and easy way to see where we're at, to track what we're doing. And so I just point this out. I don't think this is on the website yet, but is it? It is not yet, but we're going to put it on the website so our stakeholders can see. Very quickly, you can see the blue line running down the middle. That's today. That's where we're at. Anything, the blue, that's when we started answering the question, giving our response. And then orange means we're still in the process. Most of these things, or a lot of them, they're going to be ongoing. And so even though we started them, it's going to take us some time. You will see the red ones, that red color. Those are items that are complete. And of course, I'll point out Chapter 4, that although that was in the audit, the recommendations that came from the audit did not pertain to Tooele County School District because we do not have a third-party vendor like we did in the past. And then the other things I want to point out on this one is the circle and the triangle at the end. The circle on those, that's our target for completion. And then the triangle or the little arrow, that's going to be ongoing implementation because they're multi-year goals, something that will go right into next school year. And even though some of the circles, we will say they're complete, it's complete in the sense that we've checked the box, we've done the training, we've done what the auditors ask us to do, but it doesn't mean that it's over and done with. It will continue on, but for the purpose of the audit, we've completed the steps that they ask us to complete. So I like that chart. We'll continue to update that as we move forward. This really goes back to what Board Member Thompson wanted us to do, just to look at the scoreboard and can you look at something in 5 seconds and kind of know where we're at. So that's the purpose of this chart. So, and again, that'll be out on our website in the coming days for our stakeholders to see. And then this next slide, again, one thing that the audit pointed out was morale throughout the district. We're going to share some information about that and some interesting things that I think got lost as people were interpreting the audit. So we'll point that out. We have a proposal that you'll see tonight, and that we're going to launch a comprehensive culture and communication needs assessment to identify the root causes and actionable solutions of overall employee morale. I think it's really easy for people to, I heard a teacher say this, I heard somebody say that, and those anecdotal things kind of point us in a direction, but they don't necessarily answer the root cause that we need to address. So we need to find out what those root causes are so we can address them properly. We also want to implement two-way communication between us at the district level and our stakeholders, be it teachers, be it students, be it parents. And then we're also, Melissa and I were pulled after one time when we were up presenting to a group of legislators Senate President Stuart Adams pulled us aside and said, hey, do you want to look at some different things and maybe see some things that the Houston Independent School District is doing? And so we're in the really early stages of exploring that, trying to get possibly some money from the state. And we're working with President Adams and his team. One thing that we want to do is explore a partnership with the Utah Education Policy Center to help us. They just give us research-based insights into things that can help us. They have a proposal for us, but it's really broad. We want to narrow that down so any work we have them do for us gives us exactly what we're looking for. And then our goal is to build a positive, collaborative environment where staff feel supported, valued, and empowered to succeed. So, how are we going to do this? Well, you're not going to hear it from me. So, I task our communications team to come up with a plan. And so, I'm going to have Tara Sherwood, who's our communications specialist, come up, and she's going to present the majority of the rest of this presentation, because she is going to spearhead this. And Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, this was a project for your master's degree. Is that correct? Is how this started. And so she used our district as a case study. And so Tara's going to explain, and I meet with the communications department weekly. We've talked about this several times, and so she's going to explain what we're going to do.
Hey, thank you, Superintendent. So just really quick, we'll just do a kind of a recap of what my public relations plan was. We've been working on this, and it is grounded in the excellence theory, which is a public relations theory, and it has an emphasis on two-way symmetrical communication, and this approach uses communication to resolve conflict, promote mutual benefits, understanding, and respect between the organization and stakeholders. It relies on formal research and incorporates audience feedback into communication tactics. This model encourages active listening and ensures stakeholders' voices are heard and valued. So my initial recommendations for the public relations plan included defining the stakeholder groups. So as part of the plan, we plan to create profiles for each of the stakeholder groups to better understand their needs and preferences. The recommendation was to start with the employees, as they have frontline perspective and are vital to advocacy. We also proposed a public relation gap analysis for our employee stakeholders group. We need to identify our communication gaps and what employees want versus what we are providing for them currently. Once these gaps are clear, we can strengthen internal relationships through tailored communication. So the information here comes directly from the OLAG audit, which reported that inconsistent policy adherence is impacting the district's climate and morale. Fewer than 50% of employees reported high morale, and TCSD's morale was 15% lower than other Utah districts surveyed. And this was directly out of their audit. Here, the graph that they cited in their audit.
Tara, will you go back to that? And will you talk about the title of that table?
Yep.
You're probably getting there.
I was getting there, but
Okay,
yes,
great.
I'll go back. But it is key. I want you to look here, figure 2.1. It does come right out and say employee perception of morale. So what they have based their findings on, at least what they have provided to us in their data, they have reported to us based on perception questions. Which is not really a complete or comprehensive way to gauge morale. Perception could be part of that, but we really we don't have a clear picture of what our morale is. I did look to other data sources to see if it concurred with OLAG or if we had different findings. So you'll see here in the 24-25 stakeholder survey, 81% of staff reported that they were always or most of the time happy and thought that they had a positive work environment. And then in addition, Dustin Nelson has been doing a research project specific to support professionals, and they reported an overall morale rating of 3.95 out of 5, which is actually a great number. So I know that all of these are different questions and they're not exactly the same, but I want you to see that the different data sources show that the story is not all the same. And so I think it's important that we look at this further. So when dealing with perception, it's easy to make assumptions because really when we're talking about someone else and how they feel, we're making assumptions on how other people feel. So moving forward, we need to focus on finding solutions rather than just dwelling on perceptions. And so really moving forward, our guiding principle for this initiative is very simple. We need to listen first and then solve together. So what we're proposing is a culture and communication needs assessment. We're excited to launch this needs assessment. It's designed to help us understand employee morale and the communication needs that we need to build a better workplace together. Broken this down into 2 different phases. Our phase 1 is establishing a baseline. It starts with collecting internal data. We will do this using anonymous surveys to gather honest feedback, followed by small group and individual interviews. This will help us uncover real needs, not just perceptions, and identify root causes and concerns. Our goal is to listen and to learn in phase 1. In phase 2, we will compare district goals and employees' values, conduct a resource inventory, and identify the gaps. Feedback will guide us in finding solutions and filling those voids. Most importantly, we need to act on feedback and communicate clearly with our employees that their input was used to lead to changes. And then we will maintain our momentum going through an ongoing feedback loop with things such as pulse surveys. So this is an extensive project, and we have an ambitious proposed timeline. In January, we would launch our anonymous surveys. January through March, we'd be looking at our district goals and resource inventory. February through March, we'd conduct our confidential interviews, and in April, we would identify the needs and explore solutions. This phased approach ensures that we are thorough and intentional. Oh, whoops, I went too far.
Madam President, may I ask a question?
Yes, sorry.
No problem. So at our CCR meeting last week, you made a great statement about how no assumptions will be made when gathering this baseline. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
My initial, what I have been thinking is no assumptions, looking for solutions. I did try and make it sound a little more professional and say that we're looking to listen and solve together. But yes, it is that going into that was my mindset is no assumptions, we're looking for solutions. And we're going to turn this slide back over to the superintendent.
Could I ask a question?
Just a sec, Todd. Is that okay? Yeah, Todd, go ahead.
Right? Just quantifying, right, and putting a number behind this so that we do this, maybe not every year, but maybe every other year, whatever, just so we can see if we're improving, not improving. You had a 3.95 number up there. Is it going to be similar to that, or should we expect a different system for kind of quantifying the data? Is it going to be on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5? Maybe you're not there yet. I'm just trying to prepare my mind maybe for what this might look like.
Yeah. It's going to be, I can tell you, it will be quantitative and qualitative, because really a lot of this is listening, and listening and following up on what people have to say. But I do expect that it would be it's going to be some sort of scale. And I do expect that this first one is going to be much more intensive than any others. And really the intent would be that in follow-up, we would do something more of like a pulse survey, which are very short and very more directed, like just asking about resources. Like, do you have the resources that you need to do your job? If they answer no, what do you need? So those kind of things. I think our first survey will be much more intensive.
Yeah, and just follow-up being so critical, right? It's almost worse to put out a survey and then not follow up because it sets the expectation we're going to do something about it versus not doing anything at all, right? So I'm sure you're aware of that.
So again, so when we work on these pulse surveys, we're really going to be looking for actionable items, asking.
Can we get Scott and then back to you? Okay.
Absolutely. So my question is around the survey, and I appreciate the proposal, the way you're thinking of that. My question around survey is that survey going to be developed in the district, in-house, or is it going to be using a national? Because a couple questions come to mind. The first is that confidentiality. If it's being sent out by the district, well, how confidential is it really? Versus if it's an independent third party collecting the data, and there are those organizations that do that. So that would be the first question. And then the second question would be around the ability to benchmark. If it's developed internally, the concern I have is that we don't have a benchmark. 3.96, is that good or bad? You know, and the state isn't so concerned about, is it 3.96 or 5.0? They were referencing it to other districts. And so if that benchmarking is relative to other, again, national data, or, you know, using a third party that could provide that same kind of benchmarking, then it can say, with school districts, because they have that kind of those resources, they can say, you know, 3.96 is actually in the top 90th percentile of school districts, or it's the bottom 10% of the school districts. And my concern is if it's that survey's developed internally, we don't have that benchmarking, right? We don't have any relative concerns. So my question is, I guess, those are the reasons I'm asking the question, but was it intended to be developed internally or using a third party?
The intent was to do it internally.
Yeah, and part of that is so we ask the right questions. Well, you know, we can get the answers to the questions, and now there is a monetary concern as well.
And appreciating that, but I would be more comfortable using a third party, even if there's a cost associated with that, because of I think that it will provide better data to you ultimately because of the confidentiality.
We can look into that and see. I don't even know how much it would cost, you know, so we can look into that and see what
we can look into it. I am also worried about how it will push us back even further.
Appreciating that, but good data is probably better than fast data.
Yeah.
If it means that we have to drop, and I hate to give a number, you know, up to this point, but
yeah.
Those
we want to do it right, even if we have to wait another month. We want to do it right. Yeah, I can. So we'll look into that.
And I think they can help you get those questions if you go to one of those, those third parties that do that. I mean, the engagement surveys, those kind of things are pretty common for businesses, and I think that they could help you craft those questions. But I still think that they could give us. I think it's the comparable part that I'm particularly concerned that we're missing. Because that's what the legislative audit was looking at, was comparative data.
Yeah.
And so what if we go back and say, oh, we moved it from 3.6 to 4.5.
But if it wasn't the same.
But relatively, you're still relative to what?
Yeah,
If we could at least say, compared to the national average, we moved it from,
Or the
50th percentile to the 90th percentile, or 50th to the 70th. Does that make sense? And maybe I'm the lone voice there, and I realize there's a cost to it. I don't want to minimize it, but if we want it to, that's just my 2 bits. I don't have to repeat myself.
Okay, yeah, we'll look into that. And I can bring it back to board leadership and get direction from the board and stuff. It doesn't need to come formally here. So yeah.
I love what you're proposing. I'm just wondering the data.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's Emily, go ahead.
No, you can finish.
Okay. I want you to think to what we're doing with academics in the school district. That we have an academic plan that's on a 4-year cycle. We're creating a system to change academics in Tooele County School District. I want you to think where we were a couple years ago with our policy and where we are now. And knowing where we're going in the future, some of you have seen some of the stuff that Chantel's using to help us with policy. we're creating a system for policy so we can, so it's sustainable in the district. This, the very last point up there, this is not a one-time effort. It's a foundation for sustainable, inclusive, and a strategic communication plan. This is not a one and done. This is creating a system like you're talking about that we can go, be it once a year, once every 2 years, whatever we determine that cycle needs to be, that we can track into to Scott's point, Board Member Brian's point. There is something to be said about benchmarking and comparable data, us to other people. So we're trying to create a system here so that employee morale is not something that we look at in 2026 and then we'll look at it again in 2032. You know, when something goes bad, boy, our morale stinks. What do we do about this? And we start all over. We're trying to create a system to consistently be able to address the needs of our employees. On this slide, first step is just that needs assessment. And then I love engage all stakeholders, students. Valerie and Elizabeth do a good job with that, with some of our student body officers when they meet with them quarterly. But we want to go out and listen to all of our employees and be able to show action. Now, I don't want you to think that we are not doing anything right now. We actually, here in the next couple months, it's on our agenda tomorrow to figure out how we're going to do this. About a year and a half or 2 years ago, we made a decision to start giving our employees service pins for years of service in Tooele County School District. And then we ran into some financial matters, and so that was put on the back burner. And I just decided a couple months ago that I'm tired of waiting, and so we're going to do it anyhow. We'll figure out a way to pay for it. So they just came in this week. We have service pins for all of our employees. They'll get a service pin for Tooele County School District for 5, 10, 15, 20, and 30 years of continued service in the school district. It's something small, but it's something they can wear on their lapel, wear on their lanyard. It's a way for us to say, thanks for being part of Tooele County School District. So we have those. They just came in this week. Part of on our agenda tomorrow is how are we going to get them out to everybody. A little thing that hopefully employees recognize that the district cares about them. We also have, is this what just got texted to me? Yeah. Dr. Ham just reminded me, and this is a great thing. We have shout out cards. I think, Jeff, were you at the hospital and you saw him? Yes. Yeah, Jeff was at the hospital and he saw these little shout out cards. He took a picture of them. I don't have one with me, but it's just a little card that basically you catch somebody doing something good. It has our logo on it. You write it, you give it to them. When I go out on my school visits, I try to remember to take a stack with me and give them to the teachers that I go into. Sometimes I'm good at that, sometimes I'm not. But we've even seen some of our schools use those. They've put their logos on them. And so we have these district shout-out cards. So we're although this is important and we want to address the root causes, we're not waiting for this. We're doing stuff now. So I think that's important for people to know.
We missed a slide too, actually. This was, yep. So we'll just go back and catch this really quick. But I just want to stress too, the action is key to all of this. We can collect all the data we want, but if we're not, but we need to be willing to turn those insights into action and collaborate to find those solutions.
Yeah. So I'm real excited about this. I'm excited enough about this and want it done enough that I turned my report over to Tara and said, let's make this happen. And she very willingly. Tara, are you excited to do this?
I'm actually super excited.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I really, really want to talk to employees and find out what's going on and honestly look for solutions and figure out how we can all work together.
Yeah, I'm pretty convinced that the solutions are right here within our school district. We have a lot of really smart people and a lot of people who have been here a long time and have seen good things come and go. And then we have people that are brand new to our district who bring fresh ideas to us. And I think we can implement those and we can embrace them, and it makes us all better as a whole. So I'm excited to move forward with this. We'll get some answers to you guys on the survey and what that looks like. And then but our plan is to do it and make it an ongoing part of Tooele County School District. So any questions or any other comments?
I just.
Oh yeah, Emily.
Yeah, Emily.
Yeah, I love this. Thank you very much for your presentation. And when I was reading the whole plans and then I heard it, I got so excited. This is really great. When I was reading through it before, I assumed all stakeholder groups would include the public.
And so what we're saying is and what I'm suggesting is we need to start with our employees.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So the first step is the employees. Absolutely.
That would be the first step, because really our internal and our employees, they're a very vital part of our district.
Helping to get the word out to the public.
And so then the same thing moves on to our different internal and external stakeholder groups.
Right. So to be phase one, focus on the employees, and then, so he mentioned students, and yeah. So what is, I guess, the kind of order of all the stakeholders?
Right now,
employees.
Yep, we're going to start with the employees, and again, it comes back to my philosophy of not making assumptions. I think that the employees and talking with them is going to give us guidance on who the next stakeholder group should be.
Okay. I like that a lot, that we're informed on our decisions instead of just making a plan from your assumptions. I love it. Thank you very much.
Elizabeth.
I have one question for Tara, then one for Dr. Ernst. Tara, can you clarify PR? Often when someone hears PR, they just think it's the public and the entity. Can you define PR, please?
So Elizabeth and I had a great conversation about this the other day. Public relations is actually not what a lot of people think it is. It's really working with all stakeholders. A lot of people confuse community relations with public relations, and honestly, community relations is just a little segment of public relations.
Thank you. And Dr. Ernst, you mentioned that you meet with your communications department once a week. Is there any other department that you meet with weekly?
Well, not formally. I meet with Dr. Ham and area directors almost daily about something. I meet with Terry Christensen monthly. I mean, most of them are monthly, but communications is weekly, just because there's always something going on. It's just we always have to be out in front of something. And that's the meeting we've never canceled for lack of agenda items. There's always something that we talk about, so, yeah.
Okay.
So that's everything. And I just really, hats off to Tara. She's does a great job in doing this, and she's really been chomping at the bit. And I finally just said, okay, Tara, let's cut her loose and let's go. And so, and of course, Brett has his role in it, but Tara's going to be really spearheading this particular project. Yep. So that's all. Thank you so much.
Yes, we do know it takes an army to run that department, and our army is 2 people, so we're very grateful for both of them. Okay, we are going to move on to 7.2.
I have one right. There's the shout out card.
Oh, those are
So there's my blank one. Yeah, Jeff has one right there. So you can see just a little card, just says shout out. It has a name, so it'll be like, Scott Bryan deserves recognition for. Gives you a little place to ride. We've actually seen these hanging up just in people's cubicles, at their desk, and so we know that they're meaningful.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's great. All right. Okay, we'll move on to Board of Education reports. Policy development and review. November, it's a month you guys tell us what's up. I feel like we do policy.
Teacher leaders and support staff. Curriculum instruction assessment systems operation.
7.3, you've got 4 different ones listed. First one's
Are you on the minutes from last time?
7.2. I don't know. Oh, there we go. Teachers, leaders, and support staff. Guys, I thought I had this new system down, and I missed it at the very bottom. Okay, teachers,
logged out of
leaders,
mine.
and support staff.
And that would be me. So teachers, leaders, and support staff have some very clear goals. A lot of them are, it's interesting because they address findings from the audit, but it's things that we were talking about before the audit came about. So the goal is to make sure that every position in the district has a well-defined job description and that the employees receive the appropriate training. It's a big goal, and so the conversation right now is what are the steps that are being taken and whatever. Anyway, but I'll say that when we met much earlier this year, it was an overwhelming conversation, and the thought was, well, there's so many job descriptions and there's so many employees that need training. This is a lot to accomplish. And then the last meeting that we had, it actually every leader that was in the room had a plan of how they were going to do this. And so it's all feeling very possible, and everyone has plans and is on their way to achieving that goal.
Okay. Any questions for Emily? All right. Curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Who's on that?
It's me again.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's you.
Yes. You probably know the 4 years of the high leverage practices that this year the teachers are doing the common formative assessments. The principals are being trained on the interventions and extensions. And so the district committee is now looking at basically what can be done, what went well with all of those things, and what needs to be better defined to better serve what we're trying to accomplish. And so the instructional framework is being looked at to make sure all the verbiage in there is helpful for teachers. And I'll say there's been some goals set that we all know exactly what is in there. And there was a quiz the other day in the meeting to see the committee's holding themselves to high standards as an example to make sure that they all know exactly what it is that they're asking people to do. So that is the thing that's happening.
Madam President, can I say something about
Yes.
curriculums? I was going to say this in my presentation on the very first slide, but I just forgot. But I want to point out, because it has to do with curriculum, instruction, and assessment. The decision by the board, the willingness by the board, and to maybe even stick their necks out a little bit to follow the OLAG recommendation to appoint an assistant superintendent over academics is already paying dividends. I want to tell you an example. I met with Dr. Reitzel yesterday, and one thing that we hear often is that the district's requiring too much, that we're having to do too much stuff. Dr. Reitzel's taken the time to pull out every school's semester plan. He's gone through those semester plan one by one to say what aspects of that plan is aligned to our district goals, what parts of the plan is not aligned to the goals, and what plans aren't doing anything in alignment. Just the time it takes to do that, and now we will be able to say, okay, principals and schools, we got to have a through line from our strategic model to our instructional cycles, to our ALPS, to our morale, our employee morale stuff. There's got to be a through line here. We've never had that in the district. And I hope the board understands how vital that is. And I'm so grateful that I'm already starting to see good things happening because we're willing to follow the recommendations from OLAG. And a lot of it's in this curriculum instruction and assessment area.
Great. Thank you. Okay, systems of operations. I don't think we've met, so. And then District Community Council and PTEA, I'm on that with Angela Gillette. There's been a few meetings with no updated information, right? So anyways, I think there'll be one coming up. I think that's it. I really quickly just want to send my condolences to the Rogers family. Dr. Rogers, our former superintendent, passed away this last weekend, and just wanted to send my condolences to his family. So anyways, after that, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll motion we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you for coming.